Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Oh, hello there, it's good to see you. This is Ghana Tonight, and I am Keminni Amanor. Top of the news this hour. More criticism for MPs who requested and approved new GET fund allocations for educational projects and monitoring in their own constituencies. Tonight, a former Auditor General says that is looting in disguise. Also coming up, new survey shows nearly a fourth of the country's voters have lost interest in democracy, at least during the 2024 general elections. Tonight, a closer look at the Global Info Analytics latest poll. The old is out, in with the new. Ghana Statistical Service gets new boss as President John Dramani Mahama makes new appointment. All the lowdown coming your way shortly. But also tonight, a man of the cloth taking it upon himself to rebuild President Akufo-Addo's statue destroyed sometime last year in the Western region. We've got the details for you tonight, wherever you're watching us from. You're welcome to the program. Again, I'm Keminni Amanor, and this is Ghana Tonight live on TV3. Get interactive with us if you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, x.com, or 3news.com. Use the hashtag Ghana Tonight. First, a summary of the night's biggest stories in Ghana Brief.
The Office of the Auditor General has launched a nationwide payroll audit covering ministries, departments, agencies, MTAs, and subvented organizations in Ghana. Running from January 2023 to December 2024, the audit aims to eliminate ghost names, detect financial irregularities, and ensure only legitimate employees are on the government payroll. Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice Dr. Joseph Withal has promised to nip corruption in the bud, indicating it is a major hindrance to the country's growth and development. Dr. Withal emphasized that lessons learned from evaluating the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan (NACAP) will inform NACAP Phase 2.
We need political action. Political action comes in different forms. How is government and everybody who has the highest level of responsibility making sure that NACAP becomes a living document? How do they release resources to the anti-corruption agencies? How do they strengthen the anti-corruption agencies in terms of their mandates? Even if their legal frameworks are no longer delivering, can they amend them to make them more fit for purpose? Quite a number of lessons learned that will go into NACAP too.
The Ministry of Health, the Food and Drugs Authority and the Customs Service have destroyed 20 million cedis worth of illegally imported opioids. The consignment consists of Red 225, a potent pain reliever widely abused by the youth. The Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Kando, has assured swift prosecution of the local clearing agents.
We will not end here. After the safe disposal of these consignments, we are going further to interrogate and investigate the clearing agent and the importer himself or herself.
The Acting Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, SIGA, disagrees with government's quest to privatize the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. Professor Michael Pesa-White says at a personal level, he does not think ECG should be privatized.
Any decision about whether ECG should remain state-owned or otherwise should be thought through carefully. At the personal level, I don't think that ECG should be privatized, and I think I want to put that on record. for a number of reasons. Within the what do you call it, the framework of new public management, there are a large number of tools and ideas that we can pick to kind of improve the workings of ECG. We can, for instance, do contracting out, and contracting out simply means, is there an aspect of the operations of the ECG that we can contract out so that it can inject some efficiency into the operations of ECG? Or is there an aspect that we can outsource in such a way that the state retains its assets, it retains its control and everything, but it's just an aspect of the managerial bit that is, maybe reviewed and looked at.
Ghana faces a new trade challenge as the United States of America imposes a 10% tariff on imports from the country. This move raises concerns about rising costs and export competitiveness. Stakeholders have called on the Trade Ministry to invest more and strengthen local production.
This dawned on us to look for other areas for market, for Ghanaian product. We need to take the opportunity on the African Continental Free Trade area, which is not, since the implementation, we haven't seen any significant improvement of us taking the opportunity. Maybe we need to really look at the negotiations and things.
Well, Ghana Brief there for you. Do join us with your comments. Remember to use the hashtag Ghana Tonight. Now, inadequate infrastructure in education and health sectors across the country is the bane of Ghana's poor pace of development. It is further aggravated by the sharp divide between rural-urban infrastructure. And that's why state-owned cement producer Gassim is coming to the rescue to bridge the gap. As has been done over the last 2 decades, Gassim will support community-led projects that seek to radically improve infrastructure and, by extension, lives. More in this report.
Since the formation of the Gassim Foundation in 2002, the state-owned cement company has donated 725,000 bags of cement, translating into 58 million Ghana cedis, to support community projects in both the education and health sectors. This, according to the foundation, is to provide improved facilities to aid quality education and healthcare.
Today in Cape Coast, we're going to donate 21,000 plus bags of cement for these regions that I have mentioned. And 21,000 roughly will cost about 2.2 million Ghana cedis. We've given in total to the educational and the health sector of Ghana 725,000 bags of cement to improve the infrastructure of health and education.
Gassim says it remains committed to assisting various communities to provide for the people befitting infrastructure for critical areas such as education and health.
It's really a great honor for us to support these wonderful initiatives. And you know, I made a promise today to everybody here that as a nation builder, it's not just supplying quality cement, which of course we are prepared to do and we will continue to do, but also to be a backbone to these wonderful communities.
By way of maintaining the standards set in that regard, Gassim donated 21,000 bags of cement to support projects in some selected communities in the southern part of the country, comprising the Central, Greater Accra, Western, Volta, Oti, Eastern, and the Upper West regions.
In 2 weeks' time, we go up north. If today we've donated more than 21,000, we're going to do another one in a couple of weeks' time. So jointly, by the time we finish this year, we would have donated close to 40,000 bags of cement.
For TV3 News, I am Akwasi Ado, Central Region.
Quick question. Why are our legislators under fire? I can tell you one thing, it's got everything to do with money. That's coming up right now. Ghana's legislators are still receiving flack for a decision they took to allocate a portion of GET Fund to themselves for education projects in their constituencies. Now, each MP will now receive at least 350,000 cedis. That amount also covers monitoring of these projects. Now, this new allocation is also separate from the MP's portion of the District Assembly's Common Fund. The MPs have said this will go a long way to support developmental needs they will spearhead in their communities. But tonight, former Auditor General Daniel Domelovo says this is looting in disguise, taking issue with the rationale behind the decision. Tonight, he joins us for a bit more on the story. Good evening, sir. I appreciate you talking to us tonight, but you faulted new allocation to the MPs from the GET Fund, specifically for education projects in their constituencies and monitoring, like I've explained. My question is why?
The opportunity. This is my opinion or my views. The developmental issues or development of the country, the region, the national, the district, etc., are the responsibilities of the executive. We have three arms of government. The legislature does not have that mandate. That is why the executive prepares a budget of what they are going to do to develop our country and brings it to the legislature to approve. Now the legislature is entering or making an incursion into the territory of the executive, and that is worrying to some of us, because who will now supervise them? They have that oversight responsibility. That's why they have the Public Accounts Committee, Budget Committee, Finance Committee to oversee the work that the executive is doing. So if they have taken over now, who is going to oversee what they are doing? That is where I have my problem.
I see. I want to take us back into time to that period or that moment when, the decision was taken in Parliament. Let's hear from the MPs, the arguments they make for apportioning, a fraction of GET Fund to themselves for educational projects, to be clear. Let's take a listen now.
On the proposed formula for the distribution of the Ghana Education Trust Fund for the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, the formula was brought to the House. Your committee met and discussed it, and the report is ready. Mr. Speaker, having examined the distribution formula for the fund for the year 2025, the committee believes that GET Fund distribution formula has been allocated fairly, and the resources fairly across the various levels of education, in line with government's objective of improving access, equity, and quality of education delivery. In light of the above, the committee recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 10,385,604,000 Ghana cedis for the GET Fund for the year 2025, in line with the distribution formula. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
So now, members, at the conclusion of the debate, as many as are in favor of the motion numbered 13, say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is accordingly adopted. And this Honorable House has adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the proposed formula for distributing the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund, for the year 2025.
Part of that debate was also to do with the portions that will be allocated for MPs' educational developmental projects in their communities. And this is what Parliament approved, 250,000 per MP from Get Fund for education projects in their constituencies, plus an extra 150,000 each for project monitoring. And if you listen to that debate, the argument is that, and Mr. Domlevo, I'm coming to you with that one. If you listen to that debate, the argument is that this amount will play a crucial role in development in their constituencies. What's your take on that reaction, or your reaction to that, really?
I think that is a very disturbing argument to come from the MPs. What about if they start settling disputes? So very soon they will say they should be given a legal authority to become judges also. It's because the MPs themselves, when they are looking for power, promise the people that you vote me into power, I'll do this, I will do this, which is not part of their mandates. So they go and deceive the people that we can do this for you. And now they want to use public funds to do things which they are not supposed to do. But you see, the disturbing part of it is this. The government promised fighting corruption. And near to corruption is what we refer to as wasteful spending or fruitless and wasteful spending. This is one of them. If you go into government, if you are actually familiar with the executive, you will notice that Get Fund has got its own project inspection or monitoring and evaluation unit. Ghana Education Service, Ghana Education Service as well as the ministry also have the same thing. And the district assemblies, they have it. So if now the members of parliament, they are even looking for money to do the work of the executive and also monitor it. There is something in financial management we refer to as segregation of duties. You don't become the player, the referee, and the goalkeeper at the same time. I mean, I think the the legislature are stepping beyond their bounds.
Is that why you call this looting in disguise?
This is Assembly Common Fund. I've forgotten what it was, but I think it was one of the MP's Common Fund. Some of them were using it to buy textbooks and they write their names on it as if they are Father Christmas. They are the people giving it to them. But that is not the point. The point why I'm calling it looting is that there are going to be no controls. Have you seen an Auditor General's report on that yet? In fact, when I was Auditor General, I was aiming at auditing them, because I thought it was a wrong thing, and I thought it had ceased, only to hear that even the allocations are now becoming bigger, and I don't know how true it is. I'm not in Ghana, but I hear that about 250,000 has been allocated for the projects, and there's about 150,000 for inspection of the project per constituency. I'm very sure that 150,000 will be enough to take care of 2, 3 or more constituencies if it is being done by the professionals. The fact that you are a member of parliament does not mean you know how to implement development. It does also not mean that you are good at monitoring and evaluation. So I think this is a wrong move, and the legislature should desist from incursion into the executive's territory. Already we think that having members of parliament become ministers of state is not the best thing. But beyond that, they have found another way of usurping the powers or the duties or the responsibilities of the executive. I ask, there are 3 arms of government. What about if the judiciary also say, I'm a judge in this area, I need money for development. So I also go and develop the, my jurisdiction or the constituency in which are we going to give them? And soon the legislature come to us and say they need judicial powers to settle cases also in their territories. I think there is division of labor or segregation of duties, and we must respect it.
That's a rather, interesting scenario you paint for us over there. But some MPs would swear that they really need these funds, and their point of reference will be the DSCF, the District Assembly's Common Fund. And indeed, some would say that their portion of the DSCF that they receive is doing quite a bit for them in their communities and for their people. Would you agree?
Who determines that good use? They set questions among themselves and come and praise us. Who determines that they are put to good use? And first and foremost, is that your duty? The common fund is none of their duties. They find a way of getting a share of the common fund, and they find a way of finding a share of the gate fund. And I'm sure the National Health Insurance Fund too, they are getting in there. So they are competing with the executive. In that case, let's collapse the executive so that we share the public funds among the MPs. So every MP goes and develops his area. My sister, there are structures from the national level up to the district and sub-district level for development. Those structures cannot be there for an individual to come and say, because I'm elected as a member of parliament, with no experience. At times, some of them have zero experience in development, and you give them public funds this way. I think that should not be encouraged.
I see. But when you listen to what we are told about how disbursement would take place, these funds will not be directly paid to the MPs. They will be paid to the projects that the MPs choose to do in the specific sector of allocation, education in this case. Does that deal with the element of suspicion of looting?
I don't think that that by itself is even a justification, because every district has got its budget or plan. So the money should be allocated and be used to prosecute that agenda, not for an MP to come and say, oh, I prefer that this road is constructed, or this school should be painted, or this is. No, we must be cohesive in our financial management. And that means that every district should have its budget, and that budget is what is approved. And if it is approved, then there's a district administration. They must do what is expected of them. There's a regional administration which oversees or supervises the regions and also do some development. There is national, which also do some development and oversight. So to be honest with you, well, they can have their justifications for it. But from my point of view, it's equally wastage of public funds. That's what I was referring to. And some of them, I could also impute a wrong intention, because the job of the MP is to hold the executive responsible for implementation of the development projects. So if he is the one who is doing it now, I don't think that is right. And they should save our ears from that argument of they've put some of the funds to good use, especially this Assembly Common Fund. If they want us to believe that, we should come and conduct value for money audit on them and see whether they will be able to stand.
But at this point, is there anything that could be done about this?
I would like to urge our legislators that they should stop promising what does not belong to them. They should stop promising constructing bridges where there are no rivers. It is when they are campaigning, they give so many assurances that now they think they have to usurp the powers or the mandate of the executive. That is wrong. They should desist from it and focus on their role, so that they can properly hold the executive accountable. My dear, can you foresee a situation or look at a situation whereby after an audit is done, a report comes to the Public Accounts Committee where about half of the MPs are implicated in misusing the money or not using the right procurement process or misdirecting the money, and so the Auditor General cited them for it? Do you think the Public Accounts Committee is going to do a good job when they are seated over there overseeing their own implementation of or usage of the public funds? So they should try and let us respect the three arms of government.
I want to hear what your final thoughts will be to anybody who still thinks that the MPs need this money. And perhaps tell us a little bit of what could be done at this time about the situation, or is it out of our hands?
I think the executive should desist from submitting such proposals to Parliament for approval. I don't even know why the Minister of Finance included that in his budget in the first place. I think he should have known that he is at the Ministry of Finance and is supposed to allocate money to the three arms of government. The money allocated to the judiciary is supposed for justice delivery. The money allocated to Parliament is supposed for them to make laws, perform their oversight responsibilities and other functions that are theirs. And that of executive is supposed to do developmental and developmental projects and other related issues. So I don't even see why Honorable Atufosin oversaw this, or the government is submitting such a budget to them. And I even heard some, I don't know how true it is, that there was a proposal of 350,000 allocation and then they approved 400,000. I say, what is this? So is it because they approve? Will they do that for fire service? Will they do that for prison service? Will they do that for police service or audit service and the rest?
You know, Mr. Dominic, I can tell you that what we know right now is that the 250,000 is for the actual project. 150,000 cities is for monitoring, or what has been termed project monitoring. And so when you put that together, it comes to about 400,000 cities. But I do appreciate you talking to us. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time here on Ghana Tonight. Now, you know, we'll turn attention away from that. And right now, I can tell you that 4 in 10 Ghanaians have lost interest in democracy. Tonight, a look at the latest Global Info Analytics survey. Tonight, the Mahama administration fast coming under pressure to tackle head-on the Galamsey menace, which continues to devastate the environment. Now, as many as 54% of respondents have expressed misgivings about ongoing fight against illegal mining, arguing the fight has not improved or got worse in a latest survey by Global Info Analytics. I want to show you a bit more from that survey. If you could look at it now, 44% of the Ghanaian populace are telling, you know, researchers that, I mean, based on the sample, right, 44% of the Ghanaian populace are telling researchers that, listen, we are unsure about where the fight against Galamsey is going at the moment. If we could take a look at that quickly, because we need to understand what that means for the current fight under this new administration. So there you have it on your screen. The question was asked about the government's performance on the fight against Galamsey under this new administration. And as you see, the grey, which represents 38% of the respondents, said it's improved. The very light blue, 9%, didn't have an opinion on the matter. The red, 10%, said it had worsened. And then the 44% also said it was unchanged. So that's what, you know, I was talking about earlier when I mentioned that they had misgivings about the situation. Now, if you put the 44% and the 10% together, that makes it 54%, which brings the total number of people who are unsure about improvements in the fight against Galamsey to 54%. Now, let's speak to the man behind these numbers. The Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa, joins us for more on this story. Musa, let's look at this survey. 54% in total are giving you answers that are not affirmative, that there is change in government's fight against Galamsey. Did this come to you as a surprise at all? Hello, Musa, you're muted. Oh, Musa Dankwa is muted. We can hear you now, Musa. Go on. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was saying that if you look at those who are saying that it hasn't changed, 44%, it means what was happening under the previous regime was still happening under the current regime. But 10% are saying that it's actually gotten worse, you know, which means that they feel that in some areas that we sampled, they are seeing a lot more devastation than they used to, which is a worrying development. However, 38% were saying that they have seen improvement in the Galamsey kind of activities going down. So you can look at it as a cup half full or half empty. But if you look at it from pessimistic point of view, 44% said nothing has changed, and 10% are saying that it's gotten worse. So our 54% either unchanged or gotten worse.
I see. I mean, you mentioned cup half full or half empty, but when we look at a situation like the menace we face in this country, is this a damning verdict on the Mahama administration only first quarter into the term?
I wouldn't say it's a damning verdict, because really, if you look at those who are saying it is worsened, they are 10%. But those who are saying that it has improved is 38%. So if you assume that between the two, these are where the changes are coming from, but you could say, or you could argue that there has been a plus 28% improvement for those who are saying that it improved. So it depends on how you look at it. But frankly, it means that a lot more needs to be done. Now, if you drill the data down further and you look at the Galamsey areas, then you see that in the areas where Galamsey takes place, only 28% are saying that it is improved. Another 25% are saying that it is worsened. So frankly speaking, in those areas, it's the same, nothing has changed.
I see. And these Galamsey areas, again, I want us to look at the breakdown of the data. These Galamsey areas are areas that are dominated by supporters of the previous government, would you say?
No, that's not how we look at it. These are the regions where Galamsey or mining takes place. And within the mining regions, you have people doing Galamsey as well. So look at the Ashanti region, Eastern region, Western region, Western North region, I have those areas. So these are the areas we are calling the mining regions.
Well, so I guess that, you know, what I'm driving at is that the political affiliation of the respondent didn't have anything to do with the response that you got.
No, I don't think so, no.
Great. Now, what should the ministry, what should the government of the day draw from this response that you have got from your survey?
I think intensify the fight against Galamsey. There is a bit of optimism that they could do it, but it appears they need to do a lot more than they're currently doing.
I see. Now, before we let you go, I also want us to look at the extended or larger look of the survey, because 39% of Ghanaians had said that they lost interest in our democracy in that survey. Put that into proper, context for us.
Now, this is in response to those who did not vote in the last election. We asked them why they didn't vote. And about 39% of the responses that were given to us relates to issues that borders on losing interest in democracy, which means that most excuses that were given to us as a reason for not voting in the last election was because they've lost interest in democracy.
Indeed, and we have it on the screen at the moment. 26% say they didn't like or have interest in any candidate. 15% did not vote because of religious reasons. 28% had other reasons. 35% disappointed in the performance of government, and 39% also indicated that they had lost interest in democracy. Musa, how useful is this data?
No, it's very useful for our governance going forward. If we have people not voting because they haven't seen any dividend that democracy has brought them, then there's a problem. It destabilizes our democracy, and it may be reasons why sometimes when there's some kind of military intervention, you see people supporting it. So we need to make sure that people don't have this kind of, or have all this kind of feeling. We should make democracy look like profitable in terms of what they get in development. Perhaps they have voted MPP, they haven't seen anything. They voted NDC, they haven't seen it. So they are kind of despair. I
see. Musa, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for talking to us. But while we leave on that note, I'm going to bring in now Dr. Palgrave Boakye Dankwa. He's a governance specialist and security strategist at the Africa Institute of Governance and Security. I'm not sure why my teleprompter has stopped, but yes. Dr. Palgrave.
A very good evening to you.
Indeed, good evening to you as well. That point about the lack of interest in democracy being responsible for why a lot of 39% of the respondents didn't vote in the last election. Your institute has raised some concerns about that. Talk to us about those.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I've been looking at the data that Global Info Analytics have put together, and one of the things that took my concern was the fact that out of the 18 million people that were registered, I mean, in terms of 39%, that would be about 7,020,000 people who have lost confidence in the democracy that we practice. And I've always stated that if we always boast about the pride of our democracy and it appears to be a mirage, then we're sitting on a time bomb. And I think that successive governments should be able to build strong institutions, ensure that we eschew corruption, ensure that we move away from victimization of people that are working in the public service, and really build the confidence that the young people need in a democracy as we know it to be, because we know that a democracy is a democracy of rule of law. People must abide in accordance to law. And so I raised the issue from the African Institute of Governance and Security that it will be good for Ghanaian government to look into strengthening institutions so that in the next election of 2028, we will not have such high number of young people that are disinterested in the democracy that we practice.
I see. But one would also ask that erosion of public faith in the democratic process, which you indicate in your statement, much of that will fall on the doorstep of the previous administration, again, considering that the data is being drawn on the basis of the 2024 election, a government that you were a part of. So how does that come to you?
Well, I think that almost immediately, I'm not looking at this positioning as a positioning of politics. I'm looking at it at a very highest level of the fact that, yes, I mean, we've had successive elections from 1992, and I'm very certain that this data is a data that is progressive. And so we've had a data of 39% respondents who are disinterested in the democracy that we practice. It would have been the data after 2008, or would have been the data after 2012. And so it's a growing data and it's a growing concern. So regardless which government was in power, and I don't think that that's the purpose of the conversation that I'm interested in. The purpose of the conversation that I'm interested in is clearly to ensure that we build on the tenets of democracy and we uphold the values of democracy.
And in what ways are you encouraging the government of the day to strengthen democracy? Talk to us about those.
The first is to look to ensure that the rule of law is strong, and so strengthen the constitution and the constitutional regulations. The second is to strengthen state institutions that are working in the country, so ensure that state institutions are strong and robust enough. The third for me would be to ensure that young people have the opportunities that they need to have. If young people are working and they are not being victimized because of the work that they do, and I think that a number of issues that would come up be able to help young people know very clearly that, yes, this is the democracy that they believe in and the tenets are very strong.
Doc, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Dr. Palgrave Boakye Dankwa is with the Africa Institute for Governance and Security. We've been talking about the latest survey, on the back of which the Institute released a statement encouraging the government of the day to deepen democracy in this country to ensure that, you know, the outcome of that survey that tells us that a lot of people are no longer interested in our democratic process will be dealt with efficiently. Now let's move on to something else, because I can tell you that Professor Samuel Kobina Enim loses his job as Ghana's statistical service boss. And tonight, I tell you right now who takes the post. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has appointed Dr. Alhassan Idrisu as acting government statistician pending consultations with the Council of State. He will replace Professor Samuel Enim. Tonight, we're learning more about the latest government appointee and statistician. Let's take a look at what else we know about Dr. Alhassan Idrisu, who is an experienced economist and accomplished public sector leader, building a career over many years at the Ministry of Finance, where his last role prior to this appointment was Director, Economic Strategy and Research Division. Now, that position gave him the opportunity to lead national efforts in macroeconomic analysis, forecasting, policy research, and coordination of real and external sector assessments, seeing him make significant input into Ghana's budget and economic policy. We also know that based on that position and other positions he's held at director level at the ministry, he served on many boards and public councils as well as interministerial committees. He has held multiple senior positions at the director level, including Director, Economic Research and Forecasting Division, which is from 2013 to 2019, where he served National Macroeconomic Modeling and Long-Term Forecasting, and as Acting Director, Real Sector Division between 2010 and 2013, where he led research and analysis on sectoral growth and productivity trends. He's also a part-time lecturer at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra and a former consultant to Oxfam GB and the World Bank. Dr. Idrisu holds a PhD in International Development Studies from the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies. He studied in Tokyo, in Japan. He's also studied at the London School of Economics. There he is on your screen, smiling, obviously, getting a very powerful position now as after his appointment as Ghana statistician. The one who may not be smiling at the moment will be Professor Samuel Enim, who now will not have a job, at least for tonight. Well, on that mixed note, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'll tell you about how a female student in Kumasi is fighting for her life after she was shot in the head. Don't go away. Tonight, a student fights for her life after she was shot in the head by another student. TV3 is learning that the incident took place earlier this morning. Let's connect now with our Northern Bureau Chief, Evans Inkum, who's been following the story closely. Evans, what are we learning about the circumstances of this tragic incident?
Well, so Bernard Amuabeng, the suspect, a Form 2 student at the Adventist Day Senior High School, we understand, brought a gun to school today. So after the first break, I mean, he and his friends were actually arguing. But one of them had challenged Amuabeng that the gun was a toy gun. But in the course of the argument, he pulled the trigger and two of the students suffered gunshot wounds. As I speak to you now, one of the students is here, Penaman. That's the only name we've gotten. She was first admitted at the Kwadaso SDA hospital. Later in the afternoon, she was brought here because of the degree of injury. She actually sustained the injury at the forehead, and now she has been admitted at the accident and emergency unit just behind me, the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. Information has been very, very economical, both from parents, teachers, and then the police. But what we do know is that Bernard Amuabeng is currently in police custody, that is Swami District Police Station.
I see. So I take it as investigations are ongoing at this time. But you mentioned that you mentioned that two students were shot in the process. You've given us the update on one who's been injured critically. How about the other student?
Yes. Okay. So what I do know is that one is here. So that presupposes that the information has been very scanty. The other one is still at the Kwadaso SDA hospital, because Konfanochi Hospital, I've been told that Penaman is the only person who was brought here.
I see. Are we hearing from school authorities, from the parents yet of these students involved?
Well, so information has been very, very expensive. I mean, information flow from the school has been very expensive. One of the teachers told me that now the matter is in the hands of the police. And I mean, if there's any information, it is the police that will come out with such information. Probably we are just hoping, now that information, I mean, communication has been decentralized, just hoping that maybe later by tomorrow morning, police should give us their first statements or a release. Possibly it may contain a lot of information.
I see. How did the young suspect get access to a gun?
That remains a mystery. Some are saying that he actually sneaked it out of the house. We cannot independently confirm, but what we do know that it wasn't something that the father, I mean, willingly gave to him. It probably might have been sneaked out.
I see. The circumstances are rather sketchy, but I appreciate you talking to us, staying up tonight to follow up on that story. Evans, thank you so much. Evans Inkum is our Northern Bureau Chief who's been following up on that story. He tells us that indeed one of the students, victims of the shooting, is critically injured and receiving treatment. The second whereabouts of the second victim is unknown at this point, but this is a story that is still unfolding. Remember, it involves minors, and you know it's very understandable that information is still quite minimal around the incident. But something else that information isn't minimal about is what we are going to discuss now. Remember the gold-plated statue of the former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? Perhaps we'll take a moment to look at it. You know, the very one that was razed to the ground by youth in Sekendi Takrade Metropolis. Where's the video? Let's take a look at it. Oh, look at it. Yes, this was when it was vandalized. This is the statue at the Ifian Kwanta, or used to be at the Ifian Kwanta Hospital roundabout. It was brought down in the concluding days of the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration. because the youth were unhappy about it. Yes, this very one. I can tell you for free that chances are you're likely to see it stand tall and firm really soon. Now, that's because, as of now, a preacher has mobilized to ensure that you do see it again and see it again real soon. Prophet Elijah Joshua, founder of Glory and Dominion Ministry, has already paid some 40,000 cedis to ensure the former president's statue returns to its glory at the Ifiankwanta Hospital runabout. I know you're asking, why? Well, the why is why Prophet Joshua is joining us tonight. I'll quickly add that he contested as an independent parliamentary candidate in the Evaluate Jomoro Ejura constituency in the just ended elections of 2024. Prophet, good evening to you. The question on the minds of many people is why you're taking this task upon yourself.
Good evening. Thank you. God bless you for asking this question. Honestly, I'm a citizen in Ghana here. I'm a citizen in Secondary Takoradi. I'm a citizen of Western region, Ghana. So if anything happens in the region, which I know that it won't help the nature and the future of this region, I have to stand by as a man of God to condemn the act of unknown person who vandalized the statue of our ex-president. Honestly, if I sit down and look at things, I can see if I don't speak about it, it will disgrace the Western region.
I see. Why didn't you speak about it when it happened, when he was still president?
Pardon me?
I'm asking why you didn't do anything about it when he was still president, when the youth of Secondary Takoradi decided that they didn't want the statue there.
No, honestly, when the people, it's not all the youth of Secondary Takoradi. I think some of the youth, and even as I'm speaking to you now, we didn't know the person who did that. So I personally know that it's a bad people who stand up to do this so that they can disgrace all the entire youth of Secondary Takoradi. That is why I said no. If we don't talk about it, people may think it's all about Secondary people have decided to do this against our former president. So that is why. And even I have talked about it earlier. I have talked about it before.
See.
Yes, yes.
I see. And you say you have paid 40,000 cedis towards the statue already. Where have you got to in building the statue?
You know, the reason is that when they demolished the statue, I was look at the person who did the old one, and unfortunately, I didn't get in touch with that person. So a friend of mine introduced me to a person who can do the same thing, the same structure, the way it is. And the person charged me that before you can do this statue, it will cost me 60,000, but we negotiate up to 40,000. And as I'm speaking to you now, I've paid the full payment, and the person, the contractor, has promised me that by May ending, he will finish, so that I will, after finishing, I will go and see the authorities, because now the government has changed. So we have a new authorities in this region, which the Western Regional Minister, police commander, so many authorities. I will go and preach with them. I'll present to them that I have finished the statue. So we want to put it in its place. If they don't accept it, then I'll make sure I'll put this statue in my car so that.
Hey.
Yes, please.
So you haven't sought permission from local authorities. You know that the previous statue, they sought permission from traditional authorities, sought permission from the president himself before putting up the statue. It's a different president of the day. It's a different administration. You haven't sought permission from them. and you have decided to invest 40,000 cedis into it already. How big is your car to be able to carry the statue? Or are we talking about a small miniature statue?
No, it's not a small. You know, the issue that we are addressing tonight is not a matter like I am doing a new statue. This is a statue that they have put in place before, and somebody has go and destroyed it.
So you are repairing the old one?
Yes, the old one, I want to put it in a place.
Oh, I see. And you want to put it at the same place?
The same place. It's not like I want to put it in another place so that I have to see these authorities. You know, this thing that we are talking about today is better for Ghanaians to understand that, you know, if you don't talk about it, it will be something, it will destroy our democracy. In future, somebody can also build our sitting president statue, not even in Western region. It can be at a certain region. When the government change, they also will say that we are going to destroy it. We can't practice this attitude for the democracy. Yes, it can't help us at all.
Very well.
As a man of God, I can see when we practice this, it will not help us at all. That is why I said I would do it.
And so you're willing to put it in your car if you are denied access to the runabout to place the statue there. You must really love the ex-president.
Pardon me?
I'm saying that you told us that if they don't allow you to put it there, you carry the statue in your car.
Yes.
And I'm saying you must really admire and love the ex-president to want to do that.
You know, the reason why I'm doing all this, you know, when you come to Western region, honestly, I'm not an MPP member. I'm an independent candidate. But honestly, our ex-president has done a lot for the region. Has done a lot for the region, which he deserves to be honored. Honestly speaking, which our ex-president deserves to be honored. The person that we are talking about tonight is not an assemblyman. It's not a member of parliament. It's an ex-president for this nation. So if the youth of this second party decided to do this, it is a totally disrespect, honestly.
So how do you hope to convince the youth who had brought it down before that this should be there? Don't you think you create some kind of confusion in the community?
You know, as we are speaking to you now, we don't know. I think the line is...
I see. Prophet, it would appear you cannot hear my last question. We'll leave it here and wish you the very best. Thank you so much. Prophet Elisha Joshua is the man of the cloth who's hoping to finish reconstruction of the statue of the former president and place it back at the Efian Kwanta Hospital runabout, and he says that if he's not allowed, he'll put it in his car and carry it or drive it around. Prophet Elisha Joshua. Anyway, it's time for me to go, but remember, as always, I'll remind you that 7 a.m. tomorrow, Alfred Okanse will be right here with the key points. Look at the list of guests coming. We see the Ghana Shippers Authority CEO. We see legal practitioner Martin Pebu. I also see the Coalition Against Galamsey engineer there. I also see Ben Boache there. I also see Colonel Festus Abuaje as well, and Environment, Science and Technology Minister Murtala Ibrahim Mohammed also there as well. Fantastic paneling for tomorrow. I know you can't wait for Alfred Okanse. So make it this Saturday, 7 a.m. here. On Sunday, join me at 2 p.m. for Hot Issues because you're going to learn a lot from that conversation. But also you hear from the Director General of State Interest and Governance Authority. I bet you don't know what SIGA is. That is the position that John Bwedu used to occupy in the previous administration. They've been doing fantastic work. That is going to be continued by Professor Michael Kwesa White. I've been talking to him about the 2023 report, how woefully our companies have been performing, state-owned companies that have been performing. He's got some ideas on how to change that, but he also touches on ECG's procurement issues, ECG's difficulties, and whether or not it's time to privatize ECG. You want to make time to watch us on Hot Issues, 2 p.m. on Sunday. I'm Keminni Amanor. Have a pleasant weekend. Bye-bye.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by